After 12 days of drawing, I'm done with the map of Lumoria, and lore-wise it might be my favorite map. To the south of Lumoria is a land covered in perpetual darkness, a swamp glows through the nights in the Marsh Peninsula, and many other strange lights and darknesses cover the mysterious land of Lumoria. The Darklands are shrouded in an everlasting darkness that none can explain. For some reason, the sun has never risen on the Darklands in the city of Everstar. Many twinkling and sparkling stars dot the evernight sky, the moon occasionally crossing over the lands. Many think Everstar would be a pleasant place to live, but the truth is quite the opposite. The citizens of the Night City always live dreading the darkness that looms to their west. The shores of the Darklands are barren, with large, water-worn rocks dotting the soft sand beaches, the beach going inland for miles. Eventually, the sand and rocks meet a tall, waving grassland, illumined by the sorrowful glow of the moon. One can travel dozens of miles inland till they reach the Great Barrier, an infinitely deep abyss separating the rest of the world from the dark of the dark. Beyond the Great Barrier lies unknown darkness and evil. Softly glowing eyes can often be seen aglow in the far distance by those who are bold or dumb enough to travel to the edge of the dark. Terrible sounds come from the heart of that wretched realm, and many shudder as they go about their nightly tasks in Everstar. None know what is in the dark of the dark, none want to, but I shall tell you a glimpse of what is beyond the Great Barrier, and some of its history. The Darklands are the oldest of all lands. The lands of the darkness belong to the world of unknown ancients, predating even the elves and the Great Forest. The Darklands reach further back than the days when the Titan trees had been planted, further back than the foundations of Araceli and Lumoria and all the many kingdoms had been laid. Beasts of every unimaginable kind walked the face of the Darklands under the starlit skies. The unknown ancients lived in their cities, inconceivable to man and elves alike. So grand and unbelievable were their structures. Even words cannot explain their grandeur and architecture. They seem to defy every law of the universe imaginable. The unknown ancients achieved all. They came to the very peak of civilization, a peak never reached since. The ancients were allowed to all except to tamper with what had been created. Beasts were to remain untouched, the earth unscathed, the ancients uninjured. These laws were written upon the hearts and minds of all, and had not been broken since they had been written eons ago. But eventually some grew tired of the old ways. They wanted a new challenge. Those select few set to examining the beasts and the earth, cutting open both flesh and rock to find their secrets. When no apparent consequences came of their actions, they went further. Abominations of rock and beast soon arose from the ground. False and ugly stones were formed, corrupting the earth where they were cast, and spreading like a disease. Beasts large and terrible roamed across the lands and devoured whoever they found wandering astray. But still the ancients strived to create. One such ancient was named Exolium. That ancient oversaw the creation of hideous creatures and foul-smelling rocks, and soon the creations began to taint his very mind, becoming his obsession. After several years, the obsession became problematic, and Exolium was shunned from society. Taking his 4 brothers with him, he traveled into the north where loomed a great mountain. There he set his throne. The youngest of the 5 protested, saying their oldest brother had gone insane and should not be allowed to exalt himself above the others. That brother was quickly silenced by the 3rd. "My brothers," he nodded to the loyal 3. "This is the dawn of my new kingdom. Here upon this sacred mountain I shall build my empire." Exolium created more abominable creatures, ugly, blood-hungry beasts that prowled about his throne. Not much time passed till Exolium was visited by a powerful being. The self-proclaimed king sat upon his throne, his gaze bent intently in the direction of the cities of the ancient, when a form dark and invisible materialized in front of the ancient. "Exolium Alberenon." The voice shook the very roots of the mountain with such power to instill fear in the fearless. "Who are you?" The ancient steeled his voice. "Who are you?" The voice shook the air once again. "That you should venture to question me? I am your maker. I am the one who gave you breath. I am the one who placed the grass at your feet as a rug and the stars in the sky as a ceiling. I am the ruler of all that is visible and invisible. Who are you, Exolium Alberenon? I am the king of all lands, Exolium answered, shuddering. He could feel the steady, invisible glare digging into his skull. You and your race have corrupted my creation. Exolium did not answer. You and your brothers will be my judgment upon your race. Another dark form appeared next to the first, a deep growl sounding from its jaws. This beast you shall ride into the cities of the ancients, along with your brothers and your army of abominations, and you will destroy the cities and all their peoples and all the lands. After you accomplish this, then you will meet your doom. The voice vanished, and Exolium sat face to face with a large, wolf-like shadow. The desire to rule over the ancients had been fanned by the divine being into an achievable goal. If one so powerful could give him a gift strong enough to level cities, he could make the peoples bow their knee to him. Exolium summoned his brothers and their hordes, and made for the cities of the ancients, far in the south. The cities sat quiet as Exolium rode his shadow towards the waiting destruction. Starving beasts stampeded towards the walls, and the great beast roared, shaking the heavens and the earth. Terror reigned upon the streets of the cities as abominations ran free, devouring all. Hours upon hours of carnage and lawlessness passed, with not a soul saved. Eventually the abominations were satisfied, the ancients terrified stiff, and Exolium ready to conquer. His surviving kinsmen fell to their knees in front of Exolium and his mighty wolf, and were bound one by Exolium's brothers to be led off to the great mountain. Before he departed, Exolium ordered his abominations to raze the city. Exolium sat on his cold throne, overlooking the spoil of his victory toil on the rocks below him. He had conquered the world and turned his eyes to the stars. When he looked back down, his eyes settled on the form that had visited him weeks before, the shadow wolf standing at his shoulder. "Who are you?" asked the form in a mocking tone. Exolium grinned. "I am the king of the world, lord of all. I hold the world in my palm. I am Cordus Onus," he answered, officially changing his name to one of power. Cordus Onus. A king needs a crown. The form watched the man on his throne. He then flourished his hand, bringing out a dark crown with a seething orange crystal on the peak. "Accept the crown, Exolium Alberenon." The ancient felt his arms and legs go heavy, weighed against the cold throne as the form stepped forward. "Since you conquered the world, you will remain its king. Your throne will be forever set upon this mountain, and forever you will sit upon it. To the ends of the earth you will rule over your kingdom, your abominations, your brothers, and your kin serving at your feet." The form smashed the crown down upon Cordus's head, its sharp points jamming down into his skull, its orange, seething stone filling Cordus with anguish and sorrow and hatred. Blood dripped down Cordus's brow, and over his eyes and down his cheeks. "This, Cordus Onus, is the first of my judgments upon you. Enjoy your rule over your dark lands, accursed one." Gloom covered the dark lands once the voice departed. The abominations grew hungry once again, and preyed on the ancients who had submitted themselves to Cordus Onus. The shadow wolf prowled about the lands, fighting off the abominations from the settlements, and occasionally went to feast off the blood that flowed from Cordus's skull. Cordus ruled over the Darklands, unmoving from his cold throne, hating all and despising all. After some time, most of the world was destroyed, sinking away into the depths. Only the mountain remained, and all its dark inhabitants. A great fissure opened, separating the dark world from the sea, and to this day it stands a land of darkness and abominations, cursed till the end of time when Cordus Onus will face his final judgment.